Are you a parent looking for direction? How you can bring up the children even better? My name is Minesh Baxi. I've been a homeschooling parent for 20 some years. My daughter is now 22. My son is turning 18 actually this Friday. My wife and I have been married for 34 years. And I've always been one of those people who's like, I don't believe that children are getting the best possible education that they can from the school system, which is the reason I homeschool them. And I wanted to expose them to a lot of different ideas, which is the reason I bring really great guests here to have an interaction, to look at different ways beyond what is being taught in school and the society. So that's why I'm very excited to introduce to you Ghada Elias. Ghada, tell me a little bit about you, where you are joining us from.
So I'm joining you from Allentown, Pennsylvania. Um, we have a very cold weather up here, lots of snow. I'm a certified life and mindfulness coach. I also I'm starting to offer retreats. I just did my first retreat back in May in Greece. And what else do you want to know? I have two kids. Both of my kids were born on the spectrum, so I'm a mom of special needs kids.
Very good point. And I think a lot of parents have always had some challenges with children at different times. And spectrum is one of those words that I didn't know before, but obviously now it's becoming more and more common for people to use that phrase as well. So tell us a little bit about your own background. Where were you born? Tell us a little bit about your upbringing.
I'm Lebanese, so I was born in Lebanon. I came to the US. I was 16 and been here since then. I go back to my country once in a while, so I still have family and friends. I used to take my kids, even though they had autism. I traveled with them. That didn't stop me from going back to my country, visiting. Uh, I am Catholic, and that's very important for me because my life is based on my faith, and that my faith is what got me through so much that I had to deal with in life.
Well, thank you for sharing that, and that's very important for those who are watching. Obviously, you can have different faith. I personally I was born in a Hindu family, but I converted to Christianity after my father died roughly over 7 years ago, and that has been very important to bring up my family as well. My wife, my children, they're all very much involved in the church and the activities because we strongly believe that Bible and Jesus are a great, great role model to follow. So
True. Yes.
exactly. So let's talk about your journey as a parent of somebody who has had, obviously, as you mentioned, autism and spectrum. So first of all, help people understand, when did you really find out that there was a challenge in that arena with your children?
My story is, I think it's different than a lot of people that I know because I had my daughter first, and she was born with the highest sensory dysfunction that anyone can have. So for the first year of her life, she would cry a lot. She would not eat. There was something wrong. I just didn't know what it was. Back then, who knew that there's something called sensory dysfunction? But I am someone that I see a problem, I have to solve it. Something is not right, I need to figure it out. So I kept on asking the doctors, and finally, one pediatrician actually listened to me, listened to my complaint, and she started me on early intervention, and that's therapy. And so my daughter was a year and a half when we started therapy on something that I had no idea what it was, but I knew something was not right. And then my son was born, and when he turned 6 months, I started to see kind of the same issues, but not as severe like my daughter. And by one, I started him with therapy, but he did not get diagnosed with autism till he was 3 years old. But by then, I already had them in all kinds of therapy we needed them to have.
Very
That's
interesting.
funny.
So when you say high sensory dysfunction, help me understand, how would you notice that? Like, what are some of the noticeable characteristics?
So I'm not an expert. I'm a mom. But from what I've seen, I think every one of us has some kind of sensory dysfunction. Like sometimes a certain fabric doesn't feel okay on you. Sometimes like if people stepping on grass, it just doesn't give it gives you like this weird feeling where you can't step on the grass. You can't wear this kind of fabric. So I think we all have it, but we don't notice it because we find ways to go around it. However, with kids, all kids with special needs or have sensory dysfunction, but not all sensory dysfunctions have autism. Does that make sense? Yes. So I one time went to my daughter's school and I explained it to the kids of the simplest way is that our brain is wired in a way where like it's electricity, so the wire is connected to the right place. That's the normal function of sensory. But when you have sensory dysfunction, some of those wires are not connected to the right place. So the emotions that you get are totally different. So like lights can be overwhelming, sounds can be overwhelming, and kids with high sensory dysfunction, it's all messed up in their brain. So it takes a lot of therapy to connect them. And as they grow, they notice themselves, so they have the tools uh, to help themselves feel better.
Very interesting. And I think you're absolutely right. We all may have some version of sensory dysfunction, but then it becomes how easy is it to
Mhm.
be integrated in the society, in the day-to-day activities that we need to be engaged in, from getting up in the morning to from the time you go to bed, and the type of activities and things you need to do along with who you need to interact with and how you need to interact with, because there are so many different components of it that might be helpful for people to at least be aware of. And the more functional you are, the more you're able to engage in those activities in a way that is productive, easy for other people to follow, engage with as well. So, in your situation, what are some of the things that you did in order to say, hey, you know what? I know I'm getting all of this support, but I need to do some more stuff because you've been doing some work on mindfulness, meditation, etc. And you had mentioned that to me before as well. So I'd love to hear what are some of the tools, ideas that you have used to support your children?
So up until 2019, my life was all just doing therapy for my kids. I wasn't even working on myself. I kind of lost myself in that circle of autism because we're parents, well, we do what we have to do. And then after 2019, I realized that I need to take care of myself. My kids are at a place where they're much better. They've made a lot of progress. Now I need to live. Not that that's not selfishness. That's because if I don't take care of myself, I can't be the best mom for them. So I started my journey with becoming a certified life coach. I studied mindfulness and I use these tools every day. Even with my kids, I use them. I tell my son, okay, let's practice breathing. So he doesn't do it right, but I enjoy him. I don't feel I have the stress that I had before. Even when I have the stress, I know how to breathe through the stress. I know how to calm myself down. I know how to let go of a lot of things that really doesn't matter.
So
That
interestingly, when we have expectations of a certain nature, and I think a lot of conflict arises because of the expectations not meeting the reality, right? And like you mentioned, you enjoy, which basically means the person may not do exactly as normally that you would expect, but you give them space, you have grace for their behavior, and hence there is opportunity for them to rise up to the expectations or even be who they are. And you are going to be okay with that because you see them as who they are, where they are. Is that fair enough to say that?
yeah, it's being okay with life.
Yeah, totally.
It's being okay with whatever every day brings you. You just you have a choice. It's a choice we make. It's either we want to get upset about it or we want to just like question what's happening. Is it worth it? Is it not worth it? Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, I have bad days like everyone else. But with mindfulness, now um, the time that I have to recover from being upset or angry or whatever it is, now with mindfulness is shorter than before. Well, it used to take me like a week to get over something. Now it takes me like half a day, 2 hours, maybe 10 minutes. Sometimes it's like, whatever. But then, and I feel it with my kids also because they feed off of my energy. Now they're more relaxed. We're happier. We have more peace in my house.
Very true. So when people talk about mindfulness and meditation, initially, and I know for myself it used to be the case, it always sounded woo-woo. It's like this sounds like a strange thing. And the more I realize that mindfulness meditation, I'm not an expert, I'm just giving my version of it, is to be more present to who you are, what you are feeling at the given moment. You become more aware of the environment you are in, who you are in front of as an example. And also, like you said, breathing is the connection between life and death, basically. So if you're not breathing, you're not living. And breathing brings us awareness at a deeper degree when we are focused on breathing. So how would you describe what I was just talking about in a way that maybe your expertise can bring more light to people?
What you said is very correct. Mindfulness is about being aware of who you are, your feelings at that moment. One thing I want to add with no judgment. When we are able to see how we feel and not judge, we we're this is where the peace comes in. That it's okay if I'm angry because feelings are natural. Being angry is not a bad thing. We label the being upset, being angry, being depressed as bad. It's not bad. It just, those are feelings, and we humans are made of feelings. What we do with those feelings and how we respond to them and how much do we allow them to control our life, that's where mindfulness comes in. That's where mindfulness, we learn the tools to be okay and take a step back and be aware and respond. And what breathing does for us, it calms our brain down. It calms those emotions so we can think. And another thing that's very important in mindfulness is pausing. So if I'm arguing with you, what do? We're trying to talk over each other. But if someone is arguing with me and I pause and I take a deep breath, I'm actually calming my nervous system down. And then I can respond to that. And I have a choice. I either respond or I don't respond.
And you
It's
can choose
choices.
from the responses which are available to you and have
Yes,
more freedom than somebody who doesn't have that awareness and freedom.
yes. And so I teach a course called Clarity Catalyst. It's a mindfulness and emotional intelligence. The first week we cover how to live with no expectation. When I took that course, living that week with no expectation, it was like I don't know how to explain the calmness I had that week, where if someone doesn't do something, I'm not expecting. Expectation puts a lot of stress on us. We put a lot of stress on ourselves when we expect someone to do something and they don't do it, and we get upset. But we can't control what that person does. We can control what we do.
Yeah, that's where it comes down to I should have, you should have, they
No,
should
no,
have.
no.
And those are the expectations we are talking about,
Yes.
which is easy to fall into a trap for ourselves. And I'm guilty of this just like everybody else. You should have done that, not done that. And when we have those expectations, it becomes easier to have stress, all this anxiety,
Oh,
upset,
sure.
anger, because somebody didn't meet or we didn't meet our own expectations.
And those are very Um, very good tools to teach our kids, how to breathe, to teach them how to just be okay with people, but then stand their ground, be have responsibility, be aware of what's around them, so they can make the best decision possible when they are in situations. Because our kids don't have that.
Well, it's not something taught anywhere in general as a part of school, which is why I'm not a fan of the school system at all, because the school system is not designed to prepare you for life, which is the reason I homeschooled my children so that they are prepared for life. They are prepared for, this is how I like to say it. Life is extremely predictable with unforeseen circumstances. What does that mean? We are going to grow in a certain way. At some point, we'll talk, we'll walk, you know what I'm saying? We'll maybe get some education, have a career, find a spouse, have kids, that's like, those are all predictable stages in everybody's life. Now, can we have accidents in life, different things which can go on, which we are not aware of, can happen, which are unforeseen, but the stages themselves are predictable. So if I can predictably if I can be aware of that. Like, for example, my son is turning 18 this week, actually, and he recently got his driver's license. And I've been pushing him in the last 6 weeks since he got his driver's license to drive as much as possible with our supervision. And I know some parents are like, hey, you know what, I'm scared to be in the car with my child. I'm like, that's not good education, right? So, like this Friday and Saturday, so he drove an hour to 2 hours to Orlando or from Tampa to Orlando and so on and so forth. We were going to Tampa for a program. Anyway, the bottom line is he went through that, and within 6 weeks of getting his license, he's so much more calm and confident. And I gave him very simple directions: stay in the right lane, don't go into any other lane unless there are too many exits. Then you obviously want to stay in the middle lane, so possible. Then he drove on a causeway, etc. So I think the more parents focus on how can I prepare my children for a guaranteed requirement, you know, it's a guaranteed
Sure.
requirement.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
think mindfulness and breathing, what you're talking about, makes a lot of sense. So, is there any one specific method that you can share with our audience so at least they can start saying, okay, now I understand tactically, like what can I teach or what can I do with my children?
Very simple technique, breathing. That's like the most important one, is to breathe. When we breathe all the way to our belly, not the shallow breathing. And if it's anyone, sometimes I do it. I imagine a square box. So I breathe in
Yeah,
1, 2, 3, 4. I hold it 1, 2, 3, 4. But in my mind, I'm seeing the box. I'm drawing the
correct.
box in my mind. I'm exhaling. I always recommend exhaling through your mouth.
Okay.
When you exhale through your mouth, you want more longer exhale than the inhale. So you're emptying everything, and then you hold it 1, 2, 3, 4, 3 times. That's all it takes. And you'll notice how you're like calmer. So when I do workshop, I ask people to just sit there and breathe, just normal breathing for like a minute, nothing. And then after I walk them through the breathing, the mindfulness breathing, and I say, do you see that? Is there any difference? And they're like, yeah, everyone agrees. When you do the deep breathing, it calms your nervous, and it's scientifically proven. It calms your nervous system down.
Well, I totally agree with you. So, for those who are watching, let's just keep reminding them. So, this is called a box breathing technique,
Yes.
which just now Ghada explained. And so, if you are wherever you are sitting, watching, whatever you are doing, so all you do is inhale for 1, 2, 3, 4, then hold it
Pause.
for 1, 2, 3, 4,
Mhm.
and then exhale 1, 2, 3, 4, hold again for 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you come back. And like you said, do it 3 times.
Sometimes.
You calm yourself. I just learned about this technique, I think sometime in August, that one of the presenters was giving at our TEDx program. And I was like, oh, yeah, this is a simple one I can follow. And again, this is something which could be easily taught in school at any level, right? You know what I'm saying? And like you said,
Absolutely.
every parent could start doing it. And if everybody engages, like, hey, we are all getting upset, stressed out, everything. Okay, good. Let's take a time out in the family. let's relax for a second and let's all do the breathing technique, the box breathing technique, and do it 3 times. And then let's see if we can come
Come
to
back and
terms and relax with each other, right? So that might be a good technique for intervention, so to speak. So thank you so much for sharing that. I know you mentioned that you have a retreat coming up in Greece. Do you want to share anything about that?
so I am working on organizing 2 retreats, one in Lebanon, in my country, and the other one in Greece. They're both September, October of this year. The first one, September, will be in Greece, um, October in Lebanon.
Fantastic.
We will do excursions. I'm someone that likes to have fun. So excursions, some fun things, mindfulness, a free time, um, visiting churches. I like it to be faith-based. And if people, like we have a lot of people that don't believe, and that's okay. They can see it as a culture excursions, a history. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of beautiful places in my country and in Greece that we're gonna visit.
Well, that's awesome. Is there a way for people to get in touch with you?
They can email me, Ghada, Ghada, at savoryourseasons.com. That's my website, savoryourseasons.com. Or I'm on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. You'll find me everywhere.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that tremendously. So, for those who are watching, one of the books that I co-authored with my daughter, Macy, is Seven Critical Career Skills They Don't Teach in School. So we'll put a link for that below later. So those who want to download a copy for free so that they can have more clarity on what the children need to learn about career specifically, because the area that I want to help more and more parents in is to help their children decide their career. And the second part is managing and mastering money. Because to me, parents and children both need to come to terms on that that's an important area in life. Having a career that rewards you the right way, and then understanding and managing mastering money, because that to me is going to be helpful. That's why my son has a podcast called Future Millionaires, because one of the goals we have together as well, is to help 1,000 teenagers set the foundation to be a millionaire by starting today. I mean, that's really the foundation that we are looking for. My goal is to educate more families about finances, just the basics that they need to learn, but at least now they know, because I know I didn't have that. I made too many mistakes myself. So, Gada, it has been absolutely a pleasure. Any last thoughts before we wrap up today?
One last thing I would like to invite parents to do is to end every day with their kids with gratitude. Teach them how to go back, look at their day, and instead of talking about all the negative things, find one positive gratitude and talk about it. And their days and gratitude with gratitude makes a huge difference.
Well, thank you. And I appreciate Gada for your time. And I'm sure your retreats will be very successful
Thank
and
you.
you'll continue to be providing a great role model for your children. Thank you.
Thank you.